Welcome to the More Life Podcast with Jake Whan, touching on all things fitness, nutrition, and mental health. The purpose of this podcast is to allow you to pursue whatever you want in life in your best form. Let's go. What up? What up? Threw a little intro at you today for the podcast. Welcome, everybody. I hope you like the intro. If you don't, let me know, but I'm going to play around with it. It's cool to try new things. We are at the beach again today. I'm in the car. I kind of like doing this, driving down to the beach and just being able to look at the water and everything. It really puts me in a cool place to be able to do this podcast. And recording from my phone, it has pretty good audio. So, why not do it from a cool place? But today we have a really cool topic. So I put a story up on my Instagram. I really want to, interact with as many people as I can. And, coming out here to California and just going to be growing a lot. I know it's going to come because I want to help inspire people. So as I grow, I want to interact with as many people as I can. So I put a little story up on my Instagram just saying, whoever answers this first with a topic for the podcast, I will answer it. So today we're going to be talking about colleges, the advantages and the disadvantages. Lou Shanley, thank you for the question today. I'm happy to talk about this because it's something I'm super passionate about and love to be able to talk about it with you guys. Just colleges, disadvantages, and all my thoughts on it. Again, these are my thoughts. It is a subject that gets a lot of scrutiny if you talk about it in the wrong way because, college has been something that it's like you have to go to college and you have to get a good job. That's how we've been taught. I know that me being in my early 20s, this was something that my parents, my whole entire life and my grandparents and everything, like, they were, so proud of me when I went to college. And my whole entire life, they told me, you're going to go to a good college and then go and get a good job. And that's what we've been instilled into us. But I think because of what has happened with coronavirus, the whole kind of thoughts on college is changing. I feel like we're in a really big shift right now. Like we're in an awakening in this moment, because sometimes you have to go down into the depths and really go down into the hard parts of life to really see what, to really have that transition. And, brighter things are definitely ahead. But I definitely do think we're in a time where people are becoming awake and seeing that the way that we've been living our lives for a while hasn't been working that well, because this whole, pandemic and everything wouldn't have, I believe it wouldn't have happened if we were living our lives in a different manner. And I think everything correlates. Our health, disease, jobs, all that stuff is related because, going to college and getting a job is the status quo. It's what you're meant to do. And if you don't do that, you're kind of looked down upon. But the number one thing that leads to disease and unhappiness is unhappiness in your workplace. So there's millions upon millions of people in America that go to work that hate their jobs. And it leads to unhappiness and it leads to detriments with their health. So my whole my idea on college or my thoughts on college is, first off, and I want to repeat again, these are my thoughts. I'm not telling you to do anything or not do anything. I'm just giving my advice and my opinions. But I think in life, you have to look at everything as an ROI, or what is the ROI, which means return on investment. And before, years ago, if you went to college, it was a lot cheaper and your return on investment was high. You went to college, it was cheaper, and then you got a good job, which paid you more. So return on investment is there. But now it has completely changed. The return on investment isn't there. You go to college, let's say you go for 4 years, and even now that's becoming not enough. But you go to 4 years, you get college for 4 years, you get your undergrad degree. You're paying, if you're going to a good school, you're probably paying between 40 and 60,000 now. So most times people have to take out loans for that. So that is increased due to interest. So the 40 to 60 grand a year turns into 70, 80 grand a year. And then you do that for 4 years. So what's 8 times 4? That's $320,000. So let's just say it's around there. $320,000. Or, if you're going to school for 30 grand a year, let's say, then it would be around like, whatever it is, 180, 200,000. But still, that's insane. I know for me to go to Boston University for 1 year to get my master's degree, I was going to be paying with loans and interest $80,000 a year. $80,000 for 1 year. So if you go to college so let's say you're paying $320,000 and then you get out of college and you have to pay that back. You have to pay all of that back. So right then and there, you're in the tank. You're in debt $320,000. So you have to pay all that back. Then you go and you apply for jobs. Getting a job right now directly out of school with your major is not easy. It's a pretty tough thing. I know that my friends experienced it and it took time, and most of the times they had to get a job that wasn't with their major or anything like that. But, getting a job right out of college, you're probably going to be getting $40,000 to $50,000 a year, like base salary. That's what most jobs are right out of college with no experience. And so if you're getting, let's say you're getting $40,000 a year, that would take you, if you're $320,000 in debt, that would take you, what is that? 4, 8, 12, 16, 24, 32. That would take you like 6 years to just get from your job to 320,000. Excuse me, I think my math is correct. But 6 years to just make back that 320 grand. And you're obviously not going to be able to stash away 40 grand. You're going to stash away however much you're able to. You got to pay for rent. You got to pay for groceries. You got to pay for your bills, all that stuff. So you're just getting out of school. You're going to school to be in debt. So just in my opinion, the return on investment is not there anymore. So that's just like my main thought on it. But a whole nother thing is what we're taught in college nowadays. So, you go to get your undergraduate degree, and in 4 years, you're taught these old principles by someone who most of the time has not been gone out into the field, which you're trying to go out into. Your teachers are just teachers. They've been taught by somebody else on how to teach you. And so let's say, for instance, for me, I wanted to go and be a strength and conditioning coach out of college. My degree was in exercise science, and I was getting taught classes by somebody who's never been a strength and conditioning coach before, or never gone out and been a physical therapist or any of that. They just went to school to learn how to teach this and how to become a professor. So then how can somebody teach me who hasn't been out in the field? That doesn't make sense. So I know that for me, I learned 10 or 100 times more going out into the field and experiencing things for myself and actually being there. not sitting in class, going through a textbook, looking at PowerPoint slides. That is not how I learned. And I know that for most people, that's not how people learn. And with the classes in college, what you are taught, you're just being taught to how to take a test. Like, I know that for me in college, the way everything was structured was, okay, here's your syllabus. We're going to be touching on these topics these first weeks. Then you're going to have a test. Then a couple of weeks later, we're going to go through these topics. Then you're going to have a test. And then you're going to have a final. And that's how everything was. It wasn't, hey, today let's go out and we're going to go to a strength and conditioning facility and we're going to go over how to execute a lift properly. And then you're going to go under the bar and you're going to show that you can perform it properly. Like, look at those transitions. What do you think is better? If you go and you go out into the field and do the thing that you're supposed to be doing and execute it there, like real world stuff, or do you think it's better to look at PowerPoint slides, look through a textbook, and then take a test on a piece of paper? What do you think is going to transition better? So I know the whole learning aspect for me personally, and I'm sure a lot of people can relate to this, but if we go out into the field and actually do the things that we want to do and what we're passionate about, we're going to learn so much more than sitting in a classroom and paying $40,000, $50,000, $60,000 a year to do that. So, that's really my opinion on the whole thing. But let's go over some advantages and disadvantages. So there are advantages of going to college. I mean, 100%. So my backstory is I went to University of Rhode Island for 2 years. Then I went to Endicott College for 2 years. And at first, so I went to University of Rhode Island to play football. And, also go to school. But, like, an advantage of college is if you play a sport, like, that's awesome. Like, those memories I will have for the rest of my life. That's something that was very, very cool. So, if you want to go to college and you want to play a college sport, then, that's an amazing experience to have. That's something very, very cool. That's definitely an advantage of college. And then, advantage of college is also the social life. Going and experiencing that, making new friends. If you're in Greek life and all that, that's very cool. Having all those memories and everything. And then also, if you're going to school to be a doctor, or you have to go to school in order to get the job that you want to have, then obviously there's an advantage to that. If you want to go and you want to be a surgeon, then obviously you have to go to school. So that's an advantage there. The disadvantages for me are, first, just how expensive it has become. It's really, really crazy how expensive it is and how it just sets you up to be in debt. That's really what college does now. And the price is just going to keep going up and up and up. And right now, I think a lot of people are seeing that you don't have to go to the actual university or go to the actual campus to be in school. So online classes is going to be a huge thing. And to be paying that much for school to sit on Zoom and, watch a teacher go over PowerPoint slides, that for me, that doesn't make sense at all. That's wrong. That is very, very wrong. So, and it's 4 years where you're just kind of in this secluded spot, which, there's so many cool things that happen at college, obviously. If you're really into the social life stuff, then awesome, that's amazing. But, what could you be doing instead in those 4 years? Could you go out, travel the world, experience life, learn so many amazing things, or go out into the field, do some really cool internships, that type of stuff, start your own business, all those amazing things. I think what college does is it just makes you live, it tells you that you have to live a status quo life. I think education in that whole aspect does it. I believe college sets you up to just kind of live a comfortable life or not really comfortable, like what is kind of normal, which is be in debt, stressed out all the time. That's what college sets you up for. I believe that if you stray away from the college route and go off on your own and start a business that you're passionate about or go towards something you're passionate about, you're going to learn way more than you ever would going to college. So, that's what I believe it will become more and more regular for people to do, because I think people are starting to get away from the whole college route because they're seeing that it really doesn't give back to them as it did in the past. And I think another thing is the degree that you're getting. So, I mean, that degree that you get now really doesn't mean that much anymore. Unless you're going to like a top 10, top 8 school, like going to like Harvard or Yale or something, your degree doesn't give much anymore. Because if you go and get your undergraduate degree and then you try to apply for jobs, most of those places say, you need 2 to 3 years of experience or, need a master's degree. So then that's another thing. For me, for instance, I wanted to be a clinical nutritionist. So I, had to go back and get my master's degree for that. So I went to Boston University and I went for nutrition to get my master's degree in nutrition. And then I would have to go get my doctorate. So I went and did that in September. I got into Boston University to get my graduate degree. And I went for like 3 weeks and it was just not for me. I know that a lot of people can relate to this right now, but sitting in my apartment on Zoom trying to listen to somebody teach me things that most of the time nobody has any clue about. Like my whole class had no clue what this person was talking about. And I did it for 3 weeks and I was like, I can't do this. This is not right. This makes me feel like I can't go towards what I'm really passionate about in life. I feel like I'm like caged up right now and I'm being told that I have to do this and this is what's correct. And society wants me to do this. And I was like, I can't do that for myself. There's much more for me out there and I have to go do that. So, I went to Boston University for 3 weeks to get my graduate degree and then I dropped out because I said, I know I can do so much more without this. I know there's more for me. I know I can learn more on my own and go off and do more on my own. So I think if you're super passionate about something and you want to go do it, then college is not the route for you anymore. It's not. Like, go do it. Go do it. Learn it. Experience it. Learn everything there is to learn about it. Go do it. And you will learn 10 times more than you ever will going to college and paying an absurd amount of money for it. I think, that college, health, jobs, the way our world is run right now, everything is interconnected. What we need to do is start to stray away from what society has taught us for so long, because we're seeing that it is leading to detriments in every single person's life. Our health is the worst that it's ever been. There's more unhappiness, more depression, more anxiety in the world than there has ever been before. We need to change that. And a huge proponent of this is the education system, that you have to go to school for 18 or 15 years, then you have to go to college and you probably have to go to get a master's degree and then maybe a doctorate, and you have to go through all this schooling, which is just ingrained in us that we have to do that. And you have to learn these things. You have to learn it this way. You have to take this test. You have to sit in class. You have to go to this class now. And you have to pay a crazy amount of money for this to just be in debt. So then you're stressed out and then you can't get a job and then you have to find a job with outside your degree. Like, we got to stop doing that. We have to stop doing that. If we want to have a happy world where people love one another, where people are healthy, where people live their lives for a reason and a purpose. We need to stray away from that. And we need to start doing it now. The way to fix this is, rather than going to college and doing that whole entire route, let's instead go towards what we're passionate about. Go towards what our purpose is. Go towards what we were actually meant to be on the earth to do. Now, again, if you want to go be a doctor or a surgeon or stuff like that, then cool. Go to college, go do that, experience that. Cool, fine. If that's your meaning, that's your purpose. But, if you want to start your own business, if you want to have your own health and wellness brand, if you want to, I don't know, there's dogs in front of me right now. You want to start your own dog walking business. Like, whatever it may be, you're going to learn so much more if you just go and experience it and you go after it. Will it be the easiest route? Probably not. But you know how much stronger and much more resilient you are going to be if you go and do this? You're going to learn so much. And you're going to turn into a fucking badass because you're going to experience all this and you're going to know how to handle it. And you're just going to keep growing and growing and growing. And you're going to love the process because it's something you're passionate and it makes you happy to do it. So once we start going this route, then our world will start to change. So, in this, it relates back to college. It does because, for most people, college is something they're not passionate about. More and more people are seeing that it's probably not the best route to go. And here's another thing. If your parents are telling you to go to college, because I know that, so me living here in San Diego, I'm a little bit older than the guys that I'm living with, and they are in college still. And all three of them want to drop out because, they're doing things with like social media and YouTube and trying to start a business and helping people, like where they really want to help people. And they're just sitting in classes like being like, why am I even doing this? I'm not getting anything out of this. So I know for them, their parents are telling them, you got to stay in school. You got to do it. And that's because that's been ingrained in our parents. That's what our parents did because we have to understand that our parents lived in a totally different time than we are currently living in. Back then, yeah, college was the thing for them to do because then they were able to get a good job. Because I know for my parents, like my dad has a good job, my mom has a good job because they went to college and then they went and they were able to get good jobs because the return on investment was there. We are living in a totally different time. For them, they got a lot out of it. So of course they're going to want us to go and get a good job because they think that college is the route to do that. But what we are seeing is that it's not because we're actually experiencing it right now. So I think if your parents are telling you that you have to go to college, you have to do it. I mean, if you love your parents dearly and you don't want to break their heart, then, all right, stay in college. But I think a good thing, I know there's a saying, it's like, don't ask for permission, like ask for forgiveness, something like that. But what I'm really trying to say is, if you feel like you can get so much out of not going to college and going towards something you're passionate about, then go do it. And at first, yeah, your parents might be like, oh my God, what are you doing? I mean, of course they are. But when you go and show them how happy you are, how you're living your life for a purpose, you're helping people, you're becoming successful because you're doing something that you love, then they're going to be like, oh, okay, all right. Like, my son, my daughter is really living a life that they love. I know that for me, when So, yeah, I mean, I did. I went to college and I got my degree. Of course, my parents were happy about that. I went to college because I wanted to play college football. That's really why I went to college. And at the time, I thought it was good for me to get my exercise science degree because I wanted to be a physical therapist. But as college went on, towards the end, I knew I had to get out of there. And I knew it was just like containing me or like putting me down. I knew there was more for me. But when I dropped out of Boston University, at first my parents were like, "What are you doing? Why would you do this? You want to go and do all this stuff that you said and be a clinical nutritionist and get that good job and get a good salary and you'll make a lot of money." So at first they were like, "What are you doing?" But then, these past 6 months, I've been going towards something I'm super passionate about. And now I moved out here to California, and my parents are seeing, like, they're like, "Wow, I'm really proud of you that you went and did this. And you're going towards something you're passionate about and something you really love. It's amazing to see." And they're like, "Wow, it's amazing to see how happy you are. And I notice a complete change in you." And it's like, yeah, it's because I'm doing something that I love. And I'm doing something that's different than what the world told me that I needed to do. And I'm loving what I'm doing. So if you go and you do that, and, eventually your parents will be there to tell you that they're proud of you because you're doing something that you love. And if you want to go do this, go, if you're listening to this and you want to go and pursue that passion in your life, I'm here to tell you, go do it. And go do it right now. Don't feel like you have to go to college. Don't feel like you have to do what society is telling you to do or what your friends are telling you to do, what your parents are telling you to do. You know deep down in your heart what you have to do. So go do it. And I will be here to cheer you on. Share it with me. Share how you're doing it. And you're going to go through hard times. I promise you that. With straying away from the norm, there will be hard times. Your friends are going to say, "What are you doing?" People are going to say, "What are you doing?" Put your head down, go towards what you're passionate about, and don't stop for anything. Don't stop for anything. Just put your head down and go. Go towards that passion. So, I hope you took something really good away from this. That's my whole idea and everything on college, because I feel like the topic of college is much, much more. And I mean, this is something that I'll continuously touch on because, more than just health and wellness, I really want to help people with all aspects of life because your health and wellness correlates with everything else. So, go towards your passion. Go do it. You can do it, and I'm here to tell you that you can, and I believe in you. Go do it. All right, that's today's episode. I hope you enjoyed it. If you want to ask a question for the podcast and also get a coaching call with me where we'll talk about all this type of stuff, go to morelifebyjake.com/book or just go to my Instagram profile. It's right in there. You can ask a question, and I will go into it just like I did today, and then we'll have the chance to get on the phone and talk, and it will be super awesome, super, super cool. So, again, hope you enjoyed today's podcast. I really enjoyed it. I really enjoyed doing this, and I will catch you on the next one. All right, peace.